Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Warrant Officer Eden Stubbings. Shortly, we will tell the story of driver Allan Henderson, whose family are watching the live stream of this evening's ceremony. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to driver Allan Henderson. Allan Henderson was born on the 13th of September 1879 in North Melbourne, the son of John and Elizabeth Henderson. He attended state school and afterwards worked as a printer machinist and a horse trainer. Allan's mother died when he was 12 years old, and Allan and his sisters became estranged from their father. At some point, Henderson moved from Melbourne to Perth. He was married in Perth, but his wife passed away after only a few years of marriage. And in September 1915, the recently widowed Henderson enlisted in the Australian Imperial Forces at Perth, aged 35 years. After initial training in Australia, Henderson embarked at Melbourne on the troop ship Afric. Arriving in the Middle East in February 1916, he was taken on strength of the 1st Divisional Ammunition Column in Cairo and posted to number 3 section. In late March, he was appointed driver before travelling to France. The 1st Division spent some time in the relatively quiet sector south of Armentières, acclimatising to conditions on the Western Front. Driver Henderson remained with the 1st Divisional Ammunition Column through the bitterly contested fighting on the Somme in 1916. A divisional ammunition column could contain more than 1,000 horses for the purposes of transporting guns, and Henderson's background as a horse trainer would have stood him in good stead for this role. He worked with other men, bringing ammunition forward to the artillery near the front lines, often coming under enemy artillery fire. In November 1916, Henderson was transferred to the 2nd Field Artillery Brigade and posted to the 6th Battery. A month later, he was again transferred, this time to the Australian General Base Depot, where he spent some time before being transferred to the 103rd Howitzer Battery of the 3rd Field Artillery Brigade. Here he became batman, a soldier assigned as an orderly to a commissioned officer, to Major Stanley. On the 26th of October 1917, Henderson was crossing at the rear of the guns near Chitty Wood when a shell exploded near him, killing him instantly. He was probably killed by the concussion of the explosion, as his body was discovered in the field without a mark. He was 38 years old. Allan Henderson was buried near where he fell, and a cross was erected with his name, number and unit on it. His gravesite was later lost, and today he is commemorated on the Meningate Memorial in Ypres, one of 6,000 Australians commemorated there who have no known grave. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his name listed on the Meningate Memorial is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of sacrifice and service told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember driver Allan Henderson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.